Hi guys, my name is LaDonna Griffey, and the community assessment that I did is around college students and food insecurities. The area or the community in which I'm looking at is the small town that I live in eastern Kentucky called Prestonsburg. Prestonsburg has about 3,400 people living in it as of 2020. The demographics are about 90% white, 6.5% African American, with about almost 1% of Asian. As far as education levels, we have about 18% people that said they have less than ninth grade education. About 8% said they attended up to ninth grade. 27.5% of the people that live in Prestonsburg graduated high school. We have about 19% that say they attended some college. Almost 6.5% have their associate's degree. 12.5% have their bachelor's degree, and only about 9% actually have a graduate degree. So that's the community in which I'm addressing today around food insecurity and college students. When I started doing my assessment, I spent a lot of time online, of course, looking up journal articles around food insecurity around with college students. I also spent some time on the Big Sandy Community and Technical College campus. That's where I did receive my associate's degree in human services. While I was on the campus, I talked to a professor who started it's called the Nest. It's a resource center for the college students. And she was one of my resources that I used. I also spent some time talking to some students on campus. I talked to about 5 students there, 3 female, 2 male. All of the people that I talked to was white. Did not see any African Americans that day or Asians on campus. So again, the population that I'm looking at is the college student. When I talked to Tammy on campus, she said that the Big Sandy campus, they have 3 campuses, Prestonsburg, Pikeville, and Paintsville. Altogether, they have about 47 to 4,800 students, 3,100 of which attend the Prestonsburg campus. So with looking at the articles that I found, and statistically, it says about 25 to 27% of all college students have a food insecurity. So when we look at that, that's about 775 students just on the Prestonsburg campus that would be touched with a food insecurity, not being able to have enough food for themselves, maybe even for their family. The kids that I talked to or students that I talked to, they were ages 18 to 20, with the exception of one female that I spoke with. She was a non-traditional student, and she was in her 30s. She did have kids at home, and so she spent a lot of time talking to me about her worries of not being able to take care of them. She did receive SNAP benefits. Unlike a lot of college students, they cannot receive SNAP benefits. They're not eligible because the SNAP office, the requirements are high, and they assume that college students live with or are being taken care of by their parents, which is not the case. A lot of students take care of themselves. But the lady that was in her 30s, her what she was worried about was being able to take care of her kids. That even although she did receive SNAP benefits, it didn't always carry throughout the month, and she would have to use some of her bill money to pay for food. And the reason being that it doesn't last is right now the kids aren't in school because of the pandemic. And with the pandemic going on, they're there 24 hours a day. And she said her words were, they eat from the time they get up till the time they go to bed. And she said, like, how do I say you can't have that? You can't eat that. Slow down. We need to have enough food. She's like, I'm not going to do that to my kids. I want them to be able to eat and not be afraid to ask for something. So another student said that they also help their parents with the pandemic going on. A lot of parents got laid off. from work, or they're not getting as many hours as they did. And so, they're working, and the money that they would normally get to keep for themselves, they're having to provide and help pay bills and things like that. I did ask them, the resource center on campus called the Nest, their main focus right now during the pandemic is a food pantry bag giveaway once a week. Any student, as long as you're enrolled at Big Sandy, you're eligible for a bag once a week. Two people said they did not participate in that. The other three said they do participate in getting that extra food. That it's a blessing, just a blessing and they appreciate it very much. The two that I asked and they said they didn't participate, they stated that they didn't want people to know that they were in need. So that happens in Appalachia. It happens in a lot of places, but in Eastern Kentucky and Appalachia, you find that in a lot of families that pride gets in the way. They don't want to be stereotyped or judged or looked down upon. They're just very prideful people, and they don't want to be, known as the person per se that needed help. I did do, when I found the research, it just said that, like I said, the SNAP program's not, most college students aren't eligible because of the fact that they assume that their parents are taking care of them. There was, during this pandemic, they tried to get it waived that they wouldn't have to work 20 hours. That's one of the requirements, is if you're in college, you also have to work a minimum of 20 hours if you want to be eligible for a SNAP benefit. They try to get that waived, but as of right now, that has not been waived. Another reason, when we looked at the need and why this could be happening, is the unemployment rate. In Prestonsburg alone, the unemployment rate is a 7.7, when the average across the United States is like 3.7. Of course, that was before the pandemic. It's much higher now with the pandemic, but that was before the pandemic. The average income in Prestonsburg for a resident is only $16,000, when the average across the United States is about $28,500. And then the median household for a resident is 17.9, and the average for the U.S. is like 53,000. So you can see a big difference in what Eastern Kentucky and Appalachia is compared to the rest of the United States. So with the current pandemic going on, then it even made the situation even worse. So along with food insecurity, and I never realized that, I just think about being hungry or something like that. But along with the food insecurity, college students also, they're already under stress. They're under pressure to get good grades and to get their degree and things. But it's been found during research that they suffer mentally and physically. They get drained. They get mentally drained. They get physically drained. Diabetes could happen. Obesity, and when you look at the statistics on that, it just shows that it goes along with not eating the right foods. So when you don't have as much money, you go for smaller things. I mean, you get canned processed foods, luncheon meats, instead of like cooking meals and having healthier foods, because you can't afford all that. When I was talking to one of the students on campus, they said that one of the pantry bags had Vienna sausages in it, and they're like, that's the cheapest thing that you can buy. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I understand when I look at the articles when they talk about diabetes and obesity, where it comes in. They also talked about poor sleep habits, because when you're hungry, you don't sleep that well. You also get the increase of mental health, so your depression goes up. You get anxiety, and then they also talked about suicidal tendencies. So some of the general changes that I thought about when I was thinking about what could we do is, I wish that, and I hope that the SNAP program does take a look at the requirements for a college student, because not all college students are helped by their family. So that would be really, really great. Another thing that I thought would be a program, just to where local food banks or food pantries has a day that's set aside with a time, a date, and a time where college students could come to the local food banks just on those days and partake in their program as well. So they're getting a bag once a week at the school, but also that they could go to the pantries in the local area here and participate in that program as well. That would be easy to get out to the students. A simple email to their students. When I talked to Tammy Ball, when she said that at the beginning of the year when they started the food pantry bag giveaway, within 15 minutes from the time they sent the first email saying that they were going to have this food bag distribution, within 15 minutes they had 30 to 40 replies asking, can I please get one of those bags? Can I please get one of those bags? So if they can just simply send out an email to all the students, we could get a program started with the local food banks to have a certain day, certain time that the students could go and participate at those, that would be a little extra help, maybe some relief for them and their families. So that's where I'm at on assessing my community and the process of some things that I could possibly help change in our area to help with the food insecurities of our college students. Thank you. You guys have a good night.